Hello, my name is Tim Haywood and I'm the head of wardrobe at Derby Theatre. My role encompasses looking after all the costume requirements of our produced work that we do here, and that covers all the professional work, all our youth theatre work with students from Derby University, and any of the visiting companies from company aside that we have in. So I will sometimes design it, sometimes I'll make it, sometimes I'll go hire it or go buy it. So anything that's to do with costume comes under my kind of umbrella. I think the skills you need to work in wardrobe or be a head of wardrobe is, I think you need patience and I think you need tact. You have to be, as far as you can, kind of respectful of people. You're after all, when you're fitting a costume, you're asking someone very politely to take all their clothes off. So you have to be respectful of that. And we all have, bits of our body we like and bits we don't like. So you have to kind of be a bit of a psychologist and work all that kind of thing out. Obviously an interest in, not necessarily fashion, but an interest in the social history of clothing. Why people wore things at certain times or in certain ways. And to be aware of some of the history of what's happened kind of in the world. So big political movements, wars, all sorts of political things will have an influence on clothing. So things like the French Revolution had a massive impact on what people wore and why they wore it. And it was seen as, you could be seen as very dangerous to wear a certain style of clothing because it meant you were aligning yourself to a particular political party or social sect. So for Cinderella, we started the design process with Nettie Scriven, who is the set designer, Sarah Brigham, who is the director. We started back in June, obviously reading the script, talking through the script, and trying to see what ideas that kind of triggered off. Normally when the design is split between set and costume, the costume designer normally waits for the set designer to take the lead. The set designer will come up with a basic idea, and Nettie's basic idea was the hearth and home, and then I took that kind of idea. And for me, as the costume designer, that threw up a number of either images or colours or a feel that I wanted to kind of explore. So for me, if you say hearth, I think warm, and I think kind of home, and it's tactile and it's slightly cuddly and touchable, and that's what I tried to do with certainly the first set of costumes that you see in the production, which are on the rats. So I tried to encompass some of those ideas in what I did for their actual costumes. I always think the starting point has to be the script, and most writers, whether they're aware of it or not, within the script there will be clues about, obviously there are things about, enter Mrs. Green in a bright blue hat, so you know that if someone says that in the script, you have to have someone in a bright blue hat called Mrs. Green, so you know that kind of stuff. But as with Cinderella, when I was looking at those costumes, lots of things kind of come into play. So you have, first of all, it's a Christmas show. So we're going to have lots of children coming through the door, lots of families. They want to have a great time, they want to feel Christmassy. So I wanted to make the costumes kind of warm and colourful. Within the script, there are two worlds. There's the world of the home and the hearth, which is where Cinderella lives. You then have the world of the ball and where she meets the prince, which is quite a cold, unfamily orientated environment. So we had two worlds of costumes. So we had a world where the rats live with Cinderella, which was warm and soft and a bit frayed, and the costumes look a bit homemade, and they're touchable, and the colours are quite deeply saturated, and it's all natural fibre. Then when you go to the ball, everything is very structured, and there's a lot of wire kind of and hoops in costumes, and to give them a kind of an exaggerated shape. All the fabrics are shiny, so they're kind of reflective and they're quite hard. So they're hard shapes, hard fabrics, as opposed to the warm cuddliness of the kind of rat world. Cinderella's dress kind of bridges, her ball gown bridges that kind of world, in that the fabric is a raw silk which has a natural sheen to it. So it's kind of in the palace world, but we decided to make a kind of 3/4 length with a very ragged hem with like lots and lots and lots of different layers of fabrics in there as her kind of petticoats that stick out through the bottom. So she kind of bridges both worlds, and that she's part palace because that's where she's going, but she's still bringing a lot of her kind of her home world with her kind of raggedy petticoats and thing. But all of that comes from the script. You can find little clues like that, whether it's a feel you get when you're reading it, as you begin to talk with the director and with a set designer and with a lighting designer or a choreographer, you spark kind of ideas off each other. But the main thing is that it should all come from the script. A design will never work if you kind of try and impose a look on it. It's got to come out and breathe and have a life from the script, from the text.